Hello, friends. Been thinking about doing this a lot lately, and my friend McKenna just reminded me of how important this PSA actually is. So hello, this is the Naturalist Nomad with a PSA about glove safety. Now, as I'm sure many of you have been told or seen or thought that we need to protect ourselves from infectious diseases, and the number one being COVID-19. And so many people remember that in health and surgical procedures, nurses and doctors always wear gloves to protect themselves from the patient. However, gloves are meant to do one main thing, and that's protect your hands from contamination. It acts as a barrier to protect your blood from anything that your hands could come across and have contact with if you have any cuts on your hands, or if there's any sort of microbes, funguses, any sort of pathogens that could get into your body that are very small. And so your hands having really small capillaries in your hands, it's a direct access to your heart because your hands, arms flow directly into your heart. So protecting your hands is very important as a medical worker, regardless of what situation you're in. So a lot of people now have been putting these fabulous things on, surgical gloves, latex-free, latex, whatever, they've been putting them on. And what I've been seeing, which I find really interesting now, is now you have this glove, now you have this protective barrier on your body that's helping keep your hands safe from the world around you. So, can I borrow your pen? Okay, thank you. Using this pen. Oh. Keep using this pen. I've just contaminated myself. I've just contaminated whoever this person's pen is. Or this person's pen might have just contaminated me. Because just because I have gloves on, that doesn't mean the rest of my body is protected from the world around it. The gloves, now that they're on my hands and you touch everything with your hands, your phone being one of them, your phone is probably one of the dirtiest things that one person owns, like aside from like touching their mouth, like your mouth is full of germs, your phone is full of germs. I think there's actually a statistic that says that your phone is dirtier than a toilet seat. Think about that. So we're touching all of these things with our gloved hands. Our hands are protected, yay! But now once we touch our face being the most important part of our body, next to making sure our hands don't get anything inside of any cuts or anything on our hands or our fingernail beds or our fingernails, our face is then the next most important part, if not the first most important part, to protect from any sort of infiltration of any pathogens. And so now we have these germs from the pencil or from our phone or from collecting somebody's money from the grocery store or whatever. We have all those germs on our hands, and now we touch our face. Our face is full of tiny pores. Our face has our nose, our eyes, ears, mouth, riddled with holes. This thing is riddled with holes. And now we're using this dirty gloved hand that we perceive to be clean because it's protecting our hands. Now we're touching our surfaces with it. And so then now, if we're sick or something, now we're getting that onto our gloved hands. And now we're continuing doing our day-to-day. So basically, nothing is being solved. There's no actual solution that's being created here. The only thing that is being created is that your hands are clean. So things to think about is that if you are going to use gloves, think about actually why you're using the gloves. Are surgical gloves the best choice? Or can you get by with a regular pair of gloves? You know, touching door handles and things like that, I get it. How often are you going to be planning to change your gloves in a day? And then also thinking about the waste. Can you get a pair of reusable gloves, like a pair of kitchen gloves or something that you can wash so that you're not creating so much plastic waste? the amount of plastic waste based on gloves from this entire COVID situation is going to be astronomical. We could probably build an entire giant sail for a giant sailboat. Like the biggest sailboat one could think. We could probably make one out of all of the gloves that will be left over from this outbreak. So really thinking about what you need them for. Same with hand sanitizer. What do you really need it for? Hand sanitizer is killing all of the things off of your hands, the good or the bad and the good. So is washing your hands just as important? Really taking the steps to think about, how am I protecting myself? And is the way that I'm protecting myself logical? Because you can get by without wearing gloved hands. And just one thing that I do is I take a shower after I've been outside. When I first get into the house, I take a shower and I take the clothes off that I was wearing outside. You know, there's all these like different things. Being aware of how often you're touching your face, you know, cleaning from under your fingernails. If you're wearing gloved hands, treating them like you're holding like an infant, or that these need to remain sterile, changing them often. If you have a cough, if you're not feeling well, just not going into work instead of coughing into your hand or something. I witnessed a woman do that at a grocery store who was a clerk, and she was helping people out, and she coughed into her hand and then continued grabbing groceries and scanning them and taking people's money. And I saw that and I watched it for like a good minute, and then I was like, I'm going to switch lanes because she's not practicing good hygiene. And then, I mean, the next woman, like she was better, but you know, she had long fingernails and her fingernails poked through her gloves. And so that's also defeating the point, is that your fingernails hold a lot of bacteria and germs under them as well. And the whole point of the glove is to protect your hand. So if there's a hole in the glove, then the glove is technically ineffective, which is something I'm not sure people realize as well. Like once there's a hole in the glove, it's officially not creating a sterile environment for the inside of your hand. I wouldn't necessarily go as far to say sterile, but you know what I mean? A safe environment. It's now a contaminated environment. And then also like proper taking off your gloves. Like some people might go like this to take their gloves off, but now anything that was on the outside of your glove is now all over your hands. The proper way that we learn to do it in the medical community is you slide your fingers up and pull it off. And then you create a pocket where you're not actually touching the outside of the glove. And aside from me coughing on it, because I know for the most part I'm feeling well, I'm going to turn this inside out again because we need to have all the gloves we can have. Because I have gloves for other purposes as well, because it's super important. Okay, so just to recap, gloves are not the condom of the universe. It will not protect you from most diseases if you are not using it correctly. Please make sure that if you are going to use gloves, that you are practicing other methods of safety when it comes to pathogens and interacting in public spaces. Because if not, you're really just wasting a pair of gloves, and you're also still putting yourself at risk. And having everyone keep themselves safe and have proper health awareness is one of the most important things that we can do to get through this, is to just think about our personal safety and is what you're doing safe. And so really thinking about that in the medical field, that's like the number one question that we ask. Is the scene safe? Is the situation safe for me? And always making sure that you're moving forward, keeping yourself safe. And I say that not in a way to instill fear. I say that in a way to instill awareness, because I believe that awareness is how we can all move through all of these situations, whether it's COVID or the standard flu or whatever else could come our way. As long as we can operate under the awareness of awareness, it'll be a lot better for us. And also remembering too that everybody's going through a similar situation, and to always exist in compassion. And even if you see someone doing something that's not safe for themselves, like improperly using gloves or improperly using a mask or whatever, just remember that everyone can receive much more in a space of compassion. And so always do your best to approach everything from that space of compassion, because some people just don't know, and they're just going off of what they see, and no one's actually really properly educated them. And we never want to approach education in a way that's, I know this and you don't, because no one will receive that. And we really want to create a platform of receptivity, so that we can all move forward as knowledgeable people of this planet and of these communities that we're surrounded by. So thank you for listening, and I hope this helps.